Hello, it's Ricardo and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Update 15 has given us quite an awful lot to think about in regards to what's going on with the Thargoid War and the Maelstroms. This is your warning, this is a spoiler alert. This video is going to be discussing what goes on inside the Maelstrom and the new materials that you can get from it. Switch off now if you want to find this out for yourself. Hello, so thanks for sticking around to see what goes on inside the Maelstroms. The introduction of the Thargoid Pulse Wave Neutralizer, which was obtained by having a certain amount of recipes, in particular having some Grelics and some items that meant that you have engaged with the Thargoids in the past, has managed to get you access inside the Maelstrom. Once inside the Maelstrom, you've discovered a lovely asteroid field full of tritium and water and crystals and all that other stuff, but mostly tritium and water. And once in there, you've seen the mighty Titan. The mighty Thargoid Titan. Now, this really is a behemoth of a Thargoid mothership. There are interceptors defending it. There are new Thargoid variants called the Hunter, the Glaive, defending it. It's got missile points that regenerate. It's got lasers that regenerate. And it's generally a hostile environment. Even by looking at it, it looks like a scene right out of Dante's Inferno, crossed with the end of Battlestar Galactica, the Ron D. Moore version, and also Independence Day. All this you feel has been channeled inside this part of the Maelstrom. But not only that, there are new materials to collect. And these take the shape of Heat Exposure Specimens, Hardened surface fragments, and phasing membrane residues, and they're all found around and about on the surface and around the entry and exit orifices on the Titan. Now, these new materials take the form of abrasions or legions or welts, or here's a good word for you, carbuncles, that are on the outside hull or around the membranes which launch the fighters, or around the heat vents that open from time to time. I have fitted out a little Federation assault ship. Don't ask me why it was an assault ship. It was a ship I had, and it seemed small and nimble enough. I've got it running cold to about 20 to 17 with a little bit of thermal spread as well. I've got a beam laser fitted with long range thermal vent, naturally, and with this, I've also got a mining laser and an abrasion blaster fitted as well. Now, you can do this with just a beam laser, but I have found that if you use an abrasion blaster on these welts, these legions, these deposits, which we're going to see, you get more materials. Now, I have found that using a beam laser, you might get one item of material per deposit. If you use a abrasion blaster on these legions, protrusions, whatever you want to call them, then you'll get specifically a lot more, right? You'll get a hell of a lot more. Now, here we are. Look, see, we're going in now and we can see one of the said legions. There it is, a launch tube membrane residue. And that's going to give you an item. I'm letting go with the abrasion blaster. I've got my collector limpets ready to collect. And as these are materials, they take up no cargo space, which is really good, yeah? And you can see with the abrasion blaster, giving it a good old blast at those launch tube membrane residues, right, I am getting between 3 and 4 items per blast. If I was using a beam laser, you'd get one. And you'd be collecting up now phasing membrane residues, which is cool stuff, right? Because you don't know what we're going to need to be using those. And you generally find these on the exit launch tubes, for want of a better word, where the new Thargoid hunters, the glaives, come out. So be careful for them, because if it starts glowing and one of these shoot out, they won't think twice. They'll just shoot themselves right into you. Okay? There's no dramas there at all whatsoever. So that's the phasing membrane residues. On the actual hull or main structure of the Titan, you're going to find hardened surface deposits, right? And these will give you the hardened surface fragments. And they're quite easy to spot because, for one, they glow green, as you can see at the top of the screen. Now, these really are like stars in the night sky. Once you see one, then you'll get to see quite a few of them. Okay, perhaps your night vision on your ship will also help you out a little bit, but keep a lookout for those Thargoid Hunter variants because they're really out there to spoil your day. They won't think twice of just ramming into you and taking your ship right out. So, like I said, phasing membrane residue around the docking ports, and you can find them via the launch tube membrane residues. Okay, and then you've got the hardened surface fragments that you can get and just zap them directly off the hull. If you find your ship running a bit hot and you've got your beam laser fitted with thermal vent, anywhere on the actual hull of the Titan, you can shoot that and you can reduce your heat. Now, it's one of those things with the beam laser, with the thermal vent, that if you miss your target, it'll increase your heat, right? No problem, we get it. So be sure, hit the main structure of the Thargoid Titan and you'll be fine. Firing it incidentally at the portals will increase your heat, I've also found. So that's a little top tip for you. So we're going to move on now to the Heat Exposure Specimens. And these are a bit harder to find because they're around the heat ports on the Titan. Now, you will be able to tell what the heat vents look like, because they look like an orifice. There's no other word that describes this, really. I mean, it's a fantastic in-game set piece that upon occasion at certain events, it will open out, it'll pucker up, and it will emit a huge plume of what seems to be heated gas. Around these nodules that you can see on the screen just by the reticule now, you will find more legions, and these legions will give you the Heat Exposure Specimens. And I would encourage you to go and pick up as many of them as you possibly can. Keep an eye on your heat. There's usually turrets around them as well. Still pick up as many other materials as you possibly can with your collector limpets, and use your abrasion blaster to maximize the amount of materials you get. Now, this is the ship I'm using to do all the mining. I did try it with bigger ships like the Anaconda, and I had some success with that because I managed to get the Anaconda to run cold enough. This Federation assault ship, I'm going to go with assault ship, is doing me okay. It really is. I have called it the Caustic Hunter because it is really good at hunting in that caustic cloud. Let's take a look inside. So, carrier services, what have you got and how have I got it configured? Right, well, on this particular ship, as you can see, I've got my hard points. I've got a beam laser, overcharged weapon, thermal vent. No dramas there, right? That's going to cool my ship down no end. Then I've got the mining laser, which I could use. I fitted it just in case. And I've got my abrasion blaster for scraping off those carbuncles and gaining all those materials that we mentioned. Those materials being the phase membrane residues we saw around the launch tubes where the ships come plunging out, and then we also have the hardened surface fragments that we scraped off the hull, and also the heat exposure specimens. So those are the three that we've currently got at the moment. Next up, on utility mounts, we've got caustic sink launchers, and if you haven't got those, check out my video in the notes at the top that talk about how to unlock the caustic sink launcher. Now these things absorb all that caustic damage you're going to incur getting yourself into the Maelstrom. It's going to save your hull. I got 3 of those. And then I've got the Thargoid Pulse Neutralizer. This is what allows you to get through that Thargoid pulse wave that's been keeping us at bay for all this time and preventing us getting into the heart of the Maelstrom. But now it's been released with update 15, we can get access to it. Also, if you want to see how to unlock the Thargoid Pulse Neutralizer, check out my video on the situation. That'll be up top and in the description below. Now, Core internals, military grade composite. I've got a power plant, 5A. I could have a 6, I know, but I'm just pretty much okay where I am. Modifications here, low emissions and thermal spread for the experimental effect. That keeps me about 20 to 19, perhaps a little bit lower, 17. You know, that's where you want to be. So when you start using your weapons like your abrasion blaster, you're going to be okay. You're going to be in the clear. Thrusters, right, well, I went for dirty drive tuning, right, okay, and then thermal spread. But you don't lose too much with that, okay? But it's just enough to reduce your heat below that 1 level. The frame shift drive, because you've got to be able to get about. Life support, 5D, right, you know, I could have had something a bit better than that, to be perfectly honest with you. And if I upgrade that power plant to a 6, which I'm going to do, and then engineer it all up, I'll go for an A to give me a bit more time, should those pesky Thargoids shoot out my windscreen. And I got the distributor. There you go, charge enhanced. That's all I basically need. Got me sensors for A with a long range modification up to grade 4 and a fuel tank. Now optional internals is where it gets handy. Now I've gone for an anti-corrosion cargo rack. Why? I like to be prepared in case something pops out. Nothing's popped out that requires it yet, but it's the only class I've kind of had on my carrier to fit this ship out in a pinch. So I'm using it anyway. But it can be a standard, hasn't got to be an anti-corrosion cargo rack, it can be a standard cargo rack. Then I've got all my module and hull reinforcements. You know, with the hull reinforcements, look at heavy duty hull. I haven't got many effects on that really, haven't really found the need. And then I've got a repair limpet controller in case things start to go wrong. I've got a collector limpet controller, and I've got a research limpet controller should the opportunity present itself, which so far it hasn't. And another little anti-corrosion thing for good measure. I've got the planetary approach suite, which you cannot get rid of, but I haven't got any additional scanner there, unfortunately. And that might be my problem. I don't know. But to see how the game progresses. But that generally is the build of the ship. So that was a quick run through on how to get the new materials off the Thargoid Titan in the Maelstroms. And for this one I used the Titan that was called Tyrannus. My advice to you is, even if you're not into the Thargoid stuff, try and unlock those modules. This is a visual feat and a spectacle inside Elite Dangerous, one that we've never seen, and I don't think we're ever likely to see in many other games, to be perfectly honest. To be fair, I have been thoroughly impressed, and the art department of Frontier Developments has really outdone itself. I've been Ricardo. Thanks very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.